Today I'd like to talk to you about the movie A Wrinkle in Time, but it's not actually about the movie, it's the concept that the movie introduces. In the movie A Wrinkle in Time, it talks about a portal that connects this world in time with another world outside of time. And the premise of the movie is to find where this wrinkle is to prevent certain people from accessing the wrinkle to enter into our world, or from people in our world to enter into the other world. Well, this week from Genesis 28, 12 through 15, there is a passage where we see the story of Jacob's ladder. And in many ways, I think it relates and parallels to that concept of a wrinkle in time. Genesis 28, verses 12 through 15, the NKJV reads, "Then he dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set up on the earth, and its top reached to heaven. And there the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac, and the land on which you lie I give to you and your descendants." As we look, I've stopped it short of reading the entire 12 through 15, but as we stop right there, we see that Jacob is, just giving you backdrop, Jacob is leaving the land of Canaan. He is at Beersheba, leaving to go to Haran, where he will be exiled with his relatives, his uncle Laban. He doesn't know how long at this time, but the text will reveal to us that he will be exiled for approximately 20 years. But as he's about to depart, he goes to sleep as he's about to exit the land and enter into Haran. He goes to sleep and he has this angelic encounter. And as he lays down with the pillow at his head, he sees a ladder coming from heaven, and the bottom reaching the earth, the top extending into heaven, and he sees angels ascending and descending. And in many ways, as I said in my introduction, I see this as a wrinkle in time. The idea of a wrinkle in time is that there is a portal that exists in time and space that perhaps gives you access outside of time and space, that is eternity. And we see that the angels are ascending and descending in and out of time into eternity with great ease. And the premise for my speech deals with the idea that the science says that light travels at 186,000 miles per second, and it takes so many million light years just to leave our galaxy. And how is it then that these angels are able to ascend and descend in and out of time with such ease? And my argument is that they're doing that because there's a portal that exists through which this ladder extends, connecting heaven and earth, time and eternity. And as we look at this, and we're going to look further, I want to share with you the idea that man lost paradise and eternity in the Garden of Eden. And prior to the fall in the Garden of Eden, there was no time, because man was designed to live eternally, as we could see by the presence of the tree of life. It was only after man ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, sin entered the world, which introduced death. And with that came in time. But man's goal has always been to regain eternity, or to reach heaven. Again, in the Garden of Eden, where time was non-existent, eternity was a commonplace, and with that eternity was also the presence of heaven. Why do I say that? Because heaven, if you define it as the presence of the Lord, and hell being the absence of the Lord, the book of Genesis tells you Adam walked with God in the cool of the day. So the earth at that time was connected to heaven as a realm of heaven where God and man interacted. So in that realm, eternity existed in the Garden of Eden as well as in heaven. And the presence of God was in the Garden of Eden as well as heaven. But with the fall of man and the introduction of time, whatever that connection was closed off. But we see interestingly that now with this ladder and Jacob, there is still access, but it's through a portal, through this ladder in the dream that extends and connects heaven to earth. And so we see that man, through his own endeavor, has sought to regain this access to this portal, this access outside of time into eternity, this access to God. And there are many means by which man sought to accomplish that. We see with the Tower of Babel, Nimrod sought to build a tower high enough to reach the heavens. And God, looking down, saw that he might have accomplished it and came down and he confounded the language. And so from that confounding language, various languages came into existence, and the tower was no longer going to be built for them to reach heaven. We also saw man's attempt to reach God and so reach eternity through idolatry, meaning going through other means, going through other channels, through other spirits, because we know that tied to idolatry are other demonic forces. So we see man's attempt through the Tower of Babel. We see man's attempt through idolatry. But what we see here in this text and God standing by the ladder is the evidence that God has designed a way to connect heaven and earth. God has designed a way to give access to the portal to access eternity. God has designed a way, but the only sure way to reach God is through the way that he has designed. For us to see that, we have to then look at John 1, verse 51. And in John 1, verse 51, it reads, "And he said to him, Most assuredly I say to you, hereafter you shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man." As we see this text, we see a parallel between the angels ascending and descending in the dream with Jacob and the ladder, and we see a similar pattern with the angel ascending and descending on the Son of Man. And in many ways, in Jacob's dream, we saw God standing by that ladder, validating the authenticity of this access into heaven and accessing time with eternity. And in John 1:51, we see the Son of Man saying that the angels will ascend and descend on him. And it's interesting, the parallel between the angels ascending and descending on the ladder, and now Yeshua is saying the angels will ascend and descend upon him, as if to say he is that ladder. That Yeshua himself is saying, I am the connection between heaven and earth. I am the portal through which man can reach eternity, man can reach God, and man can reach eternal life. And we see that Yeshua is in fact that portal, that when he died on the cross, the veil was torn, opening access to everyone who wants to come to the Father can come. We see that Yeshua, through the shed blood, went into the heavenly and the holy of holies and poured out his blood, and now sits at the right hand of the Father, intervening in our behalf. So when man lost paradise, it was not lost for good. Through the shed blood of Yeshua, we now have access. Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, is that ladder on which angels ascend and descend. He is that wrinkle in time. He is that portal in time that gives us access in time, from time into eternity, from our world into the presence of God. If you don't know him today, I would encourage you to seek out salvation through Yeshua, the anointed one who was sent to bridge the gap and serve as the ladder that can restore paradise and can bring us back into connection with our Creator. Shalom.